You build a site into dist, copy it to a web server, refresh the browser, and half the old files are still there, so you copy again. Then someone says, just delete the remote directory first. That is how simple deploys become outages. SCP is fine for one file. It is a poor tool for keeping two directory trees in agreement. Today we use rsync over SSH, compare first, transfer only what changed, preview the result, and treat delete like a powered saw, not a broom. Rsync exists because most copy jobs are not really copies. They are synchronization jobs. You already have a destination tree, and you want it to match the source without pushing every byte again. Over SSH, rsync gives you normal SSH authentication, host key checking, logging, firewall behavior, and user permissions. The rsync part decides what needs to move. That means backups, content publishes, build artifact pushes, and config rollouts can be repeatable instead of improvised. The usual starting point is -avz, archive mode, verbose output, and compression. For a remote path like deploy at web:/tath, modern rsync uses SSH as the remote shell, unless configured otherwise. Mechanically, rsync starts a local rsync and a remote rsync connected through SSH. First, it walks the file list. By default, it uses a quick check, size, and modification time. If those match, it usually skips the file. When content must be updated, rsync can split data into blocks and transfer the differences instead of the whole file, especially useful across slower links. Archive mode preserves directory recursion, symlinks, permissions, timestamps, and ownership where your account is allowed. The trailing slash is not decoration. Source/dist/ means copy the contents of dist. Source without the slash means create a dist directory under the destination. First line, rsync-avz, dry run, source dist/ destination deploy at web:/var www site/. Archive keeps metadata, verbose tells you what it plans, z compresses data. On fast LANs or already compressed assets, z may weigh CPU, measure it. Dry run means no changes. Second command adds delete, still with dry run, that previews files on the destination that would be removed because they are absent from the source. Read that list. Third command shows partial for large files. If the transfer breaks, rsync keeps the incomplete file so a later run can reuse it, instead of starting from zero. Here is a simple static site deploy. Your build system writes public files into dist. The server path is var www site, owned or writable by the deploy user, not by your personal login and not by root over SSH. Create an exclude file in the project with .get/, node module/.env, and maybe star.map if source maps are not public. Then run the dry run command with delete and exclude from. If the output only shows the expected uploads and deletions, press up, remove dry run and run it for real. For higher end deployments, sync to a release directory first and switch a symlink after health checks. The biggest mistake is typing delete before understanding the source and destination. Delete removes destination entries that are not present in the source set. If your source path is wrong, an empty or incomplete source can erase a lot. That is why dry run comes first, always. The second mistake is the trailing slash. Dist/ and dist are different operations. Third, excludes are relative to the transfer root, so test them. Fourth, do not deploy as root, because it hides ownership problems and increases blast radius. SSH security still applies. Verify host keys, use keys with passphrases where practical, restrict deploy user permissions, and log deployment activity. This episode sits between basic SSH file copying and real automation. You already learned keys, agents, known hosts, and remote command execution. Rsync over SSH uses all of that. If the host key changes, rsync should stop just like SSH. If your private key needs an agent, rsync benefits from the agent. Later, when we cover jump hosts and SSH config, you can put host web, user deploy, port, identity file, and proxy jump in SSH config, then rsync to web with clean commands. In automation, rsync pairs well with systemd timers, CI deploy jobs, and backup scripts, as long as dry runs and logging are part of the design. Practice locally first. Make 2 temporary directories under tmp. Put one file in the source with echo v1 pipe to t. Now run rsync-avn delete from source / to destination /. The n is dry run. It should show app.txt would be copied. Run the same command without n to perform it. Then add an extra file only in the destination and repeat the dry run. You should see a deleting line before anything is removed. Finally, run it without delete and notice that extra destination files remain. That difference is the whole reason we rehearse before touching a server. 3 beats to keep. First, rsync over SSH is the default tool when you need directories to converge, not just files to copy. Second, dry run comes before delete every time. Delete is useful, but it is a chainsaw. Third, use partial transfers and exclude files for large artifacts and same deploys. Tomorrow we continue the SSH mastery path with another practical administration topic, one day at a time from zero to expert. Also check the daily ranked CVE brief linked in the description, built for defenders who need signal, not noise.